Welcome to Happy Hour with the Home Collective. We are your hosts, Bill Ball and Kristen McFeely. Today we're going to be talking about what is included in your home sale. But first, it's 5 o'clock and it's Happy Hour. Kristen, what are you drinking today?
All right, I'm drinking something really fun. Look at this. It's whiskey.
Southern Tier.
Peanut butter cup whiskey.
Peanut butter
Have
cup
you ever had
whiskey.
Have you ever had the screwball?
No.
It's in like most bars. But
Okay.
anyway, so yesterday we were in Downingtown helping my mom with her final move, and we stopped by Victory Brewing Company just for old time's sake because it's right in Downingtown, and got a couple beers, and then they have merged with Southern Tier. So they had like a little gift shop, and when we left, I grabbed one of these. So anyway, I'm having Southern Tier peanut butter cup whiskey over ice.
Nice.
How about you?
Very cool. I'm just drinking
Yeah.
a Guinness, believe it or not. Simple.
Oh, my favorite.
Nice and
that's
simple.
my favorite.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers. Happy hour.
Cheers.
Anyway, speaking of that beverage you were drinking, it's funny. Mm-hmm. The older version of me, well, the younger version of me, years ago, backwards I'm talking about, I would get like too, I don't know, pretentious about anything that wasn't pure. In other words, like a purist.
I knew exactly what you were going to say.
Of everything, okay?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to like this.
Okay. You're about to make fun of me. That's fine. I've got it. I already know what you're doing.
Okay, you're so wrong already. No, what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm drifting from that. I find myself not caring as much anymore.
Good.
I think it's something like, like when you're in high school and, you learn some shit, maybe like your sophomore year, and all of a sudden, because you got through freshman year, you're in sophomore year, you think you know everything, and you're kind of, you know what I mean? And then so you're too like insecure about everything. So you because you think you know everything, and then a couple years goes by, and you start thinking, man, who gives a shit? Why the hell do I care about that stuff? That's kind of how I'm feeling about all my pure stuff, like whiskey, beer. Actually, wasn't never like too much like that with beer, but
you always like the flavored beers.
But coffee, even coffee, I'm not. Even I'm still drinking my coffee black, but I'm kind of like, I don't care. Maybe I'll have a flavored coffee. I don't know. It could happen. That's all I'm saying. It could.
That is a lot.
It could. Now it might be Christmas, peppermint something, but
Yeah, I like that.
that's a big leap. Where it's and like whiskey too. Like this is so funny. When you first start drinking whiskey, you don't know what you're drinking. Then all of a sudden you learn a little bit, and then you're like, I still see guys talking and hear guys talking about this. They'll say something like, especially like on the interwebs. God forbid you're on a cigar room. You're a cigar website. You're talking about stuff, and guys are like, "Oh, you drink a blended Scotch? I only drink single malt." Like, come on, dude. And I always think of that douchebag. That used to be me. I used to be that douchebag thinking about that and like pretending like it matters. It doesn't. Who cares? It's just so stupid.
Yeah. And now you're actually thinking that peanut butter cup whiskey sounds good when normally you would have been like, nah.
You know what? It's funny. I don't think it's going to be good, but I'm fine with it.
It is good though.
Come on.
It is good.
It can't be good.
Well, I'm not really a whiskey drinker, so to me this is good. Like I'm like total, basic, whatever you want to call me. I like Fireball. I like Screwball. Those are my kind of whiskeys. I like the, party it up in Nashville kind of.
Well, Southern Tier. Well, Southern Tier makes the pumpkin beer that we both like so much. They make a pumpkin whiskey.
Oh,
that's what I thought you were holding up when I saw peanut butter cup.
Well, so when we were there, they had a whole bunch of different ones. So the one Southern Tier beer, you will really not like this, and it's super high alcohol, and I can never find it anywhere. It's the creme brulee Southern Tier beer.
Probably too sweet.
It's very sweet, but it is so freaking good. And when we were at Victory last night, yesterday, they had a, on their menu, they had like cocktail, beer cocktails basically. And so they had a drink that was this peanut butter cup whiskey. This is going to like hurt your teeth to even think about this, but this peanut butter cup whiskey with creme brulee beer and something else. I forget what the other thing was. But anyway, of course I had to get it because I never see that beer anywhere. And it was so good. It was very sweet, but it was so, so good.
So that's one of those deals. You can only drink one of those, right? Like you can't, right? It's just like maybe after dinner or after a big meal and you want something sweet, or you were thinking about ordering dessert, but instead you do a dessert drink.
This was a dessert. This was my dessert. And then they also had a beer. Victory also had a beer, and I got a Crowler. I haven't opened it yet, but it had, I forget the name of it. I'll have to look it up, but it has Mike's Hot Honey in it. And you know how I like the pumpkin habanero beer that has like a little kick at the end? Well, that's what this was. It was almost like, I think it was an ale, but it was a light beer, almost like a Pilsner. And it had like a hot honey kick at the end. So it wasn't sweet, but it was like, it was good. So I got a Crowler of that to bring home. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we had a good time yesterday.
Interesting.
Victory.
You could, if you ever get around to inviting me over, I could try some. But that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, you're coming over next week, I thought. I'll keep the Crowler
we keep saying
unopened.
next week, but next week never comes.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming because you know what? The following week, guess where I'm going to be the following week? You may have to record again without me.
Oh, great.
Clearwater.
You're going to be...
Clearwater. Philly spring
right.
training. Yeah.
I forgot.
I cannot wait.
I forgot. You got the gift. You got the gift for Bill. Did you talk about that on the show?
I don't think I did.
Did you talk about that?
Did I?
Why don't you tell the peoples?
Yeah,
that was
so,
good.
Okay, Billy and I are huge Phillies fans, in case anyone has not picked up on that yet. Billy's actually from North Jersey and was never a fan of any sport whatsoever. And I grew up with a dad and a brother who are like crazy Eagles, Phillies fans. Anyway, I've been a huge Phillies fan. I made Billy a Phillies fan. Now we're both obsessed. We pretty much watch every game. We go down to Citizens Bank Park several times, during the season. I've always wanted to go to Clearwater for spring training. And so for Christmas this year, I got him 2 games. We're going to go down March, I think 11th through the 15th that week. And we're seeing 2 games. And to present the offer to him on Christmas, I did Cameo. Do you know what Cameo is? It's where you get like a D-list celebrity to do a little video. Oh yeah, you do, because you have your Corey Feldman thing. Oh yeah. I forgot. You're an expert. You're the one who probably introduced me to Cameo actually years ago.
Wait, so what we'll tell. So anybody who doesn't know what Cameo is, it's a website where you can go on and there's celebrities on there, and you can pay
celebrities
them.
In quotes.
Well,
some of
they
them
are celebrities.
Yeah.
Or they used to be celebrities
it's
bigger back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Corey Feldman, who sang me Happy Birthday.
Yep.
It was a gold. But you pay them and they'll record a video for you. And, usually buy it for somebody. But so that's what Kristen's talking about.
So I got, so Billy loves John Kruk, who announces for the Phillies and is a former player from the 90s. And so I got John Kruk to actually to present to Billy on video this gift. So I had the gift, but I was like, oh, wait, there's a video for you first, or a text or something. I forget how I said it. So he looked at it. And also, you know, Bill, that Billy does not have an iPhone or like understand how any of these things. So he really thought like, oh my God, John Kruk is calling. What is happening here?
You thought John Kruk was FaceTiming?
Yeah. So I handed him my phone.
So great.
And John Kruk went on for like 6.5 minutes. And usually,
it was long.
Yeah, usually the Cameo is like a minute or two, just saying a little thing. This was 6.5 minutes, and it was quite long. And it was him telling Billy that we were going down to Clearwater in March. So anyway, that week is finally almost here, and I can't wait.
That was funny. He went on for a long time. You showed me the text. I was like, man, he was really going on. He was like, all right, Billy, you come down to Clearwater, you and Kristen. Who knows? Maybe we'll meet up. Maybe we'll get a beer. I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
Like going on.
And he looks like he's like hiding out in his closet or something, doing this video. It was pretty
He
funny.
did a great job.
He did.
He's probably
Totally.
like, I can't believe somebody's paying for this. I got to give them their money's worth. So he went on and on and on.
Yeah.
Cool dude. It was
He's
very
great.
cool of him.
He was great. Yeah. So anyway, so what are we talking about today? We had a question come in that was about what things are typically left in a home when you're selling your home. What do you typically leave behind, and what's expected to be left? What, like, inclusions and exclusions? What things are typically, supposed to be left, and what things are up for negotiation? So I thought this was an interesting one. We can tackle today.
All right, coming up next, the things that are included in your home sale. The things.
This is kind of an interesting topic, actually, because I know I've mentioned a couple times that my mom is moving, and actually her settlement is on Wednesday. So it'll finally all be over on Wednesday. But when she listed her house in Downingtown, she got 5 offers like in the first day, and had like 32 showings scheduled for that weekend. And she was just like, oh my God, I'm just going to take, she had good offers. So she was like, I'm just going to take one. And the one that she ended up taking was far less than the highest priced one. But what she loved about it is that they told her she could leave anything she wanted in the house. She did not have to take it with her. And she has been stressing for like the last almost year, at least 6 months, on like, as she's slowly starting to go through her things and downsize. She's leaving like a, 3,500 square foot home to move to a like 1,300 square foot apartment condo. So she has to get rid of like everything. And she found, Goodwill and some of these thrift stores won't take certain things. Nobody will take like a mattress, for example. Nobody will take linens. Like she has a piano, like nobody's taking a piano, and it needs to be
Hard to
tuned.
get rid of a piano.
Yeah, it's not a great one either after all these years. But like she had so many things that she was just like, what am I going to do? Even like dining room set, she had like the traditional dining room set with like the table with the leaves and the 6 chairs and the hutch and the sideboard. Nobody uses a dining room set that way. So she could not get rid of it. I mean, even like the consignment stores were like, yeah, we're not taking that kind of stuff. That won't sell. Yeah.
No garage sales or anything?
They would take her table. They would not take the hutch because they said people don't use that anymore. So yeah, she was having such a hard time. So this buyer, this couple that made an offer, they went a little over asking, but not as high as some of the others, but they said, leave whatever. And so, Billy and I went over yesterday to help her get her remaining things. And like, I'm walking around the house and I'm like, there is furniture, like this looks like a full house. And you are walking away from this house with all the stuff left here. So anyway, that is really unusual. That is not what most people want you to do. It's typically the opposite. They want you to clear out everything. They don't want you leaving anything behind for the most part. But I thought this was an interesting topic because we were literally just dealing with this yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's a paragraph in the PA agreement of sale. There's a full paragraph on this, on what's supposed to be left typically in the property. But there's always some gray areas. It always seems that there's some gray areas, and then even that stuff that's in that paragraph can be negotiated. When I first started, not when I first started, I was a few years into the business, maybe 3 or 4 maybe. And I had a client seller who had a lot of stuff, but not like clutter, but they just had a lot of decorations in the property. Mm-hmm. So I'm walking it, and they had stuff on the walls where I always find this just funny. It's like, I'm like, I don't know what that thing is, and I know it's decoration, but how did you even think to put that there? Because I don't have that in my brain.
Yeah,
it looked like just like a big log, just nailed to the wall. It wasn't a shelf. It was just a random half log. I'm just like, I'm not saying it looks bad, but how do you look at your wall and think that could use a log? You know what I mean? I don't have that.
Yeah.
So in my brain. So I'm walking the property. I'm like, all right, well, you got to take all your personal stuff. And I'm like, all right, so you have to take all these pictures down. Obviously, you're going to take your pictures anyway. If they're pinhole pictures, pinholes in the wall, you can leave those. But I said, but this log and that log and the log on the third floor, I was like, when you take those off, you're gonna have to patch those holes.
Yeah,
because they're going to be big. You don't have to paint, but you got to patch them holes up.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's like hemming and hawing. Young couple, friends of mine, great, right? House was great. House sold fast and sold for a lot of money in like grad hospital. So day of settlement comes. And the buyers are yelling at me because these logs are gone.
Oh, they wanted
and I'm like,
them.
What? I'm like, what? I'm like, you wanted those logs?
No.
I was like, my seller would have left those logs. He was cursing at me, patching those holes. They were like, yeah, we wanted it all. We wanted everything. I mean, I'm just like, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And it literally got to the point where I had to, because the sellers weren't even at settlement, I had to call the seller and tell them, like, they're so pissed off about these stupid logs. I don't even know who the hell would want. I'm so blown away by what, A, there's a person that knew to hang them logs, and B,
there was a second person that wanted them.
Who wanted the logs still there.
Yeah. That is really funny.
And this is like back in the day before, like, the market was just different then. And we had to give like a small credit because we took the logs. Because technically, and this is what we're going to get into, they were affixed.
Fixture. Yeah.
Yeah, they were affixed to the property.
Yeah.
Because they were drilled in, they were supposed to stay.
Yeah.
And of course I know that, but it's usually like, stuff that people are going to use,
Right.
like bookshelves or like anything that was like, built-ins and stuff like that. And I'm like, that just seems such like a decorative thing. It'd be like a mirror. Like you would take the mirror off, you would take your logs.
Right.
In case you needed them or something,
Right.
I don't know. But so even we get tripped up with what's supposed to stay sometimes.
We do. I mean, here's a couple things. First of all, number one, appliances. People always ask about this. So your stove range should stay. It's affixed, obviously. It's tied into gas lines or electric or whatever. So that stays. Your microwave, if it's like attached over the, say over the stove, that would stay. Your dishwasher, obviously, is tied into water lines. That stays. But things like the fridge, which you can unplug and roll away, the washer and dryer, which you can basically unplug and roll away, those don't have to stay. So one thing that and I've been burned, I was burned one time and I'll never forget it. We want to always write into the agreement of sale if we expect the washer and dryer and refrigerator to stay. I very early in my career assumed they stayed because they were there and the house was pretty much vacant. And I was like, oh, these are obviously staying. Didn't write it into the agreement of sale. And we went for the walkthrough and all three were missing. And I had to pay for it out of my own commission for the buyer. I mean, I was like so early in my career. I think I was like second year in, and I will never do that again. Never do that again. Because the buyers were so upset and it was a lot of money, to have to buy new ones. And the sellers were like, oh no, you didn't put it in there. So we just took them.
Yeah, well, you know what happens to us all really probably is that the refrigerator, it just seems like it's supposed to be included. And it always is, 99% of the time.
Yep.
So you could go a few years in the business without really realizing. And it happened to me. It happened to me too. So I'm a few years in, maybe even 5 years in, and we do the walkthrough and the refrigerator's not there. And I just turned, like I did that slow, creaky turn to my buyer, like, see if she's looking at me. And I'm like, I look over and she's just standing there with her hands on her hips, shaking her head back and forth. And she goes, they took the fridge. I didn't want their piece of shit fridge anyway. So I was like,
lucky.
Thank God for that.
Oh
but
my
I
God.
always write in now, this is every single agreement, no matter what. I write in refrigerator, washer, dryer, window treatments,
Yes.
whether they're blinds or whether they're curtains. And I only do that because not that the buyers care that much. It's just because I know when they first move in and you bring your stuff, you might not be staying there that night. And if you're leaving and then there's nothing in the windows, it's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm always just listen, even if you don't like the curtains, let them leave them, and then you can figure out your window situation. You know.
Yeah. Now the curtains, I'm actually pulling up the agreement of sale right now, the Pennsylvania agreement of sale. And the window treatments are supposed to stay, but I think it's always a good idea, like you said, to write it in and to say, that they're included, just because you just don't want anything to come to be interpreted, in any other way.
Most of the time, blinds are like custom anyway.
A lot
They're
of
not
times,
taking
yeah.
them. You know what I mean? They're not taking them anyway. But like I don't know. It's in my own brain. I just say window treatments, meaning whatever's in the window.
Yep.
Just
curtains,
leave.
blinds, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Newspaper. If it's there, just leave the newspaper. Okay.
Trash bag. Yeah. Well, here's the interesting
Contractor
one.
bag.
How about so here's something that's more of a recent kind of a thing in the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, are these flat screen TVs, because now everybody mounts them on the wall instead of having them like in an entertainment unit. And the rule of thumb is supposed to be that if you either leave the TV, you leave the bracket for the TV, or if you remove both the TV and the bracket, you have to fill the holes. That's typically the rule of thumb. Now, that's another one that I would probably write into the agreement of sale. If they want the TV to stay, I would write that in, just so there's no confusion there. But that's another one. I've been in situations where we go to the walkthrough, someone's removed the TV, the bracket, and it's like huge, huge holes in the wall that they didn't fill or do anything with.
Yeah, I mean, we all fell into this when it was a thing,
Yeah.
When we were all like, what the hell do we do? What's going on? Because at first, there was one side that was trying to fight for, well, the TV should be included because it's mounted and it's affixed. Well, it's technically not. If it's on a mount, it's hanging like a mirror.
It's the mount that's affixed.
It became this whole thing. No, the TV can come off, but the mount's supposed to stay. So now what happens is really, we just asked the other agent, do you want these brackets? We're taking the TV. Do you want the brackets or do you don't want them?
Yeah.
And I would say it's like half and half.
Yeah, me too.
Half the people are like, just leave them. And half the people are like, please take them.
Yeah.
And then if you take them, then you got to get, like Kristen said, you got to, patch. You got to patch up the holes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But that was a thing. I mean, we had, like, everyone was kind of like
what do
going
we do?
back and forth on what's right. You know what I mean?
Isn't that funny? It's funny how you remember when certain trends come into like fashion, because it changes the way you do business. Like that was a thing for a while where everybody was doing it differently, and it was like no one was ever happy. But that's supposed to be the standard now. The other thing is like window units, air conditioners. If you don't have central air, some people have. Now in South Philly, a lot of the places have the wall unit that's built into the wall. So obviously you're not removing that. But window units that just go into the window and plug in and you can remove them, that's another thing that you would want to specify if you'd like them to be left. Because I've had instances where we were expecting them to be left and they're not, or we're expecting them to be taken and they're left in the window.
Yeah, that's something that you definitely want to find out, because I think as realtors, we automatically assume, for the most part, not everyone, but we assume the buyer wants as many things as they can get their hands on, right? But sometimes buyers are like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want their washer and dryer.
Now I have to get rid of it.
I don't want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've had to do that too.
Yeah.
So I always, when I'm writing an offer, I always wind up going back and I didn't even want to get into this. I wrote 2 offers this weekend for 2 different clients, got neither of them.
Oh, no.
So I was running all weekend. Saturday, this is a little sidebar. Saturday, I was in Manayunk, East Falls, Roxborough, and Bryn Mawr. And then Sunday, I was in Yardley, Newtown, Holland, and matter of fact, shout out to Tommy Greer. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see him post it?
Yeah, I did. Did you see? I was the first to comment. I was like 2 of my faves.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know why I didn't see your comment. But I ran into Tommy Greer. It's an agent that I used to work with at Coldwell Banker.
Yep.
And he's at Keller Williams now up in Newtown. So we used to work in Old City together with Kristen too. And I'm up in Newtown, and I'm not, I mean, I might as well be in Mars. You know what I mean? Like
That's why I was so surprised when I saw him post that photo. I was like, where's Bill Ball?
So I walk two of the houses we were looking at had open houses. So I'm walking up the front lawn, and the door opens, and the agent's like, "How you doing, folks?" He's like, "Bah!" He sees me. He's like the last person you're expecting to see in Newtown.
That's really funny.
You know what I mean? I used to
really
hang out with
funny.
him on Market Street. No, we're in Newtown. But anyway, my point of this was right before I wrote the offer for the one in it was like Manioc, I jumped back on the MLS, and I'm looking at the photos because I'm trying to think, is there anything else in that house that they might want that's not automatically included in this agreement? And I remembered that they had like a mini bar up on the third floor, and the mini bar had a wine fridge. So I'm like, I'm just going to write it in because that's one that's just plugged in. They can roll out. I mean, it fits in that space. I just wrote it in for them because that's like one that can go either way, but you might as well just write it in.
Might as well write it in.
But didn't you, I thought it was you, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was doing a deal and the seller wound up taking this gigantic chandelier and the buyer went nuts. Like that's a fix,
could have happened
but
to
it was
me.
like this custom giant chandelier, Phantom of the Opera piece.
I don't know if that was me or not.
No.
But I was going to get into that too, because so those are inclusions, but as far as exclusions, so sometimes, like sellers will say, I want my dining room chandelier. That's something special. And it was expensive and I'm going to take that to my new house. Well, that's fine, but you have to write it in the MLS. You have to actually let everybody know that it's excluded, and you do have to replace it with something. You can't just leave like dangling wires hanging down. You have to put like one of those terrible, probably Home Depot boob lights up. Just something has to cover the wires. You're supposed to always replace it with something. And you should definitely say, so typically like with my sellers, I tell them if it's something really special to them, remove it before we even put it on the market, put the house on the market. Because if a buyer's going to come in and fall in love with it, and then you're going to tell them you're taking it, it's not a great look. Unless it makes the room, if it really makes the house. But yeah, so that's the other thing, is to look out for not only the inclusions, but also the exclusions. Because like you said, you could very easily think like, oh, I'm getting a dining room chandelier, and you show up and the whole thing's gone. That's not fun either.
These are conversations you got to have if you're representing the seller. These are the conversations you got to have. Like, that's why we walk the property and we try to say like, it's just better to be safe than sorry. Just check on every item that you think may be an issue. Like, are you leaving that? Even when I see like, sometimes you'll be in like, let's just say the seller's bedroom, and let's say there's a cutout in the wall for a bookshelf, and the bookshelf, there's a bookshelf that fits perfectly in that space, but it's not actually affixed to anything. But it might look like it is. So it's like one of those things like, are you going to leave that? Because that's probably not even going to fit anywhere else, but what do you want to do with it? But if they're like, no, I'm taking it, now you got to like make mental notes and probably put that somewhere in the agent notes maybe, or definitely when an offer's coming in. So
yeah,
it's so much better to just get all this stuff out in the open instead of trying to figure it out after you sign an agreement of sale.
Yeah.
Because once that's signed, it becomes I always find that before the agreement's signed, everyone's so agreeable. Oh yeah, leave it. I'll take it, whatever. But once the paperwork's signed, you kind of see some true colors.
And you've gone through
sides.
inspections where you've been battling through the inspections, and then all of a sudden you're asking them to leave something or take something. The other thing that is one of those like, do people leave it or not, is outdoor stuff, like a grill, for example. Very few people take the grill with them unless it's a super fancy grill. They usually want to leave it, but you have to also say to the buyers, do you want the grill? Because I've had instances where the seller feels like, I'm going to leave the grill. I'm doing something nice here for these buyers. I get there with my buyers and they're like, we don't want this terrible grill. And I have to pay a hauler to get it out of there. I've been in that situation more than once. So like a grill, patio furniture, that's the other kind of stuff I would definitely be sure to put in your agreement of sale, whether it's staying or going.
So just so we're 100% sure that we have at least answered this question as full as we could, because I don't even know if we did. We were jumping around so much, but it's anything that's affixed to the property. And what that means is anything that's screwed in, nailed in, built in, like Kristen said, connected with gas lines. But honestly, even that was questions. I remember when I first was in the business, like, so what? It's connected to a gas line. So you disconnect the gas line. It's not actually fixed to the so even that, but I think now stove is in that paragraph anyway in the agreement of sale. So that one's definitely
included. And same thing with like a dishwasher. Like you could unhook the hose, roll it away, but it's in there. And then the other thing, there was one other that I was just thinking about that.
Ceiling fans. Ceiling fans are included.
Ceiling fans,
any light
definitely.
Fixtures that are, again, drilled in. Now, if it's a lamp that's plugged in, obviously that's not something that's supposed to stay. That's yours. But yeah, ceiling fans are one.
Sconces, like all that kind of stuff that's like attached. And then the other one that we get a lot, like you were mentioning that bookshelf in the bedroom, are those like closets, like those IKEA big giant wardrobe type closets.
They're brought in after, right? Yeah.
That are brought in after because the home probably doesn't have a closet or has a really small one. Like I have a listing right now in Fishtown. And the primary bedroom did not have a closet. So they built these two giant mirrored IKEA closets and they're expected to stay because they're not something that would even fit in another place. But we always want to be sure. I mean, I wrote it in, the buyer's agent double checked. So it's like one of those things you just want to make absolutely certain everybody's on the same page about.
Kristen, I'm going to give you a trivia question right now. Ready? Trivia question. What I can almost guarantee that every single house you have sold over the last 20 plus years. No, it's not 20. Is it 20?
18.
18. Okay. Over the 18 and change
in May,
years.
It'll be 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
What item has every single seller left in their property that probably technically wasn't supposed to?
I don't know.
Oh, you're gonna crack up. Nothing. You can't take a guess.
That everybody left. That
every
they
single
have left?
person that probably shouldn't, because buyers hate it too. What do the buyers hate and the sellers hate? And it's always in the house.
Oh my God, this is going to be obvious, right? Once you say it. Oh, paint! Extra paint in the basement.
Paint cans.
Extra paint in the basement. Paint.
Why do I need these 47? Paint cans from 30 years ago. That's not even good anymore. You never know. You might move in and scrape something and you could use that paint. There's not even paint in here. It evaporated.
You are so right. Because you can't just get rid of them. You can't put them out for the trash. You have to take them and So no, you're absolutely right. That is one of those things where the seller's always like, should I leave the extra paint? I'm going to leave the extra paint. I'm just going to leave the extra paint. I'm like, no, don't leave the paint. Yeah, you're right. And then buyers see it and they're like, we don't need this paint. We're painting it. This is what we hate about the house is the paint. That's the first thing we're going to do is paint it. We don't need their paint.
I know. It's such a pain in the ass. But there are times where it's like, I sold renovations back in the day and it's like everything was brand new. So so all the wall colors, the paint's there. But that's just one of the things the buyers inherit, and they're just going to leave it for the next jabroni. I'm like, well, you're going to get the next guy back. Don't worry. You leave these here under your staircase in the basement. You're never going to touch them. And when we move out, they're going to be right there for the next guy.
Along with the extra bathroom tile and vinyl flooring that you'll never use either.
Oh, and the paint cans that you're going to buy. They're going to be there too. So you're going to double up.
You're so right. You are so right. That's one of those sort of like acceptable but annoying things. Like you don't really, unless it's in excess. I mean, unless there are like 25 paint cans. But if it's just a few, you kind of just take it on the chin and you're like, all right, I guess I'm getting these. But nobody wants them. You're so right.
All right, Kristen, I think we covered that pretty well, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think we gave the listener more info than they probably wanted or asked for, but that's okay.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up this episode. Just a quick reminder to check the show notes if you need help with real estate anywhere in the country. If you want to follow us on social media, or if you have a question for our next episode, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, Kristen, and I'll catch you at coffee break.
Catch you at coffee break. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Happy Hour with the Home Collective. We are your hosts, Bill Ball and Kristen McFeely. Today we're going to be talking about what are we talking about? Oh.